Hello children, here I am once again to see you with another interesting English lesson, and today we are going to learn pronouns. I would like to remind you that this particular lesson is not something new. You have been learning pronouns from your small classes. So this time what I'm going to do is to refresh your minds and to help you recall whatever you have learned all this time. Hope you are ready. Let's get started. Look at this slide and then focus on to these two sentences. Kavin is a university student. And the second sentence starts with a word which is highlighted in red. You know this word very well. It is he. You know that Kavin is a boy, a male. Therefore, instead of using the name Kavin, we are using the pronoun he in the second sentence, right? And let's go to the second one now. Observe the name, it's Mihiri this time. You know that as soon as you hear the word, it is a girl, a female name. So instead of using Mihiri, we are using the word she. I told you I am trying to help you refresh your mind so that you can recall whatever you have learned all these days, because pronouns are something which all of us are familiar with. Right. So she is facing the GC O-level examination this year. Let's move on to another pronoun. The elephant went towards the village. It left the footprints in the jungle. And what word do you see in the second sentence here? The word it. You know that there are male and female elephants, but still children, we use it because it is not human. You know, we use it to talk about animals, any other living creatures other than human beings, and also to talk about places, things, ideas as well. Let's take a look at another example as well. I like to live in the hill country. In spring, it has beautiful flowers. So in this particular slide, you see two different sentences, and then the second sentence you see the word it, and the word it refers to the hill country. As I mentioned earlier, you can use it to talk about places as well. Right, let's discuss further. Today I am going to teach you three different types of pronouns. First one is personal pronouns. Look at the example. I work hard to pass the exam. The highlighted word here is I. I is a personal pronoun. You know that there are 8 different personal pronouns which I'll be explaining it to you in a short while. And the second section in today's lesson is possessive adjective. Focus onto these two words, children. What do you mean by the word possessive? Possessive means you own something. You talk about ownership. Adjective, you know that adjectives describe nouns, and here we are going to use these pronouns in front of a noun, so that we are using it as a possessive adjective to show that this particular thing belongs to me or to someone else, right? And there is one more thing, that is reflexive pronouns. This is one of the easiest pronouns for you to remember, because as soon as you look at the word, you know how the word is formed. I painted the room myself. Reflexive pronouns usually refer back to the subject, and also when you read this particular sentence, you understand that we use this reflexive pronoun to say that this particular action was done by myself. No one helped me. I did it on my own, or you did it on your own. Clear? Right. Right, now I'm going to explain the personal pronouns, taking a little bit of time, because I told you I am going to refresh your mind so that you can recall whatever you have learned so far. Shall we start? Here we go. I and we. We use the word I to talk about yourself, you know. It is like you look into yourself and say I. And then when you talk about a lot of people along with you, you use the word we. So that clearly says that the plural form of I is we. And we call these two pronouns as first person pronouns, first person singular and first person plural. Right, look at these two words. Remember, in English, we don't have the plural form for the word you. It is the same word we use for singular and plural form. And this we call the second person, because you point at someone who is in front of you and say you, right? You, singular and plural, we use the same word, right? Look at these three words now. He, she and it. Remember, this is what I used in the first few slides when I started teaching you this particular lesson today. So these three words, you know that the word he is used to talk about a male, she is used to talk about a female, and it is to talk about animals, birds, creatures, places, things, ideas, and so on. Right, we call this as third person because you're not referring to yourself or the person who's in front of you, but someone who is elsewhere, right? So these three are singular forms, right? And we have one word that is the plural which we use to all these three words. Yes, they is the third person plural form. Hope this is clear. Go through this one more time. I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. Right. Okay, this is another interesting section. So I'm going to tell you how we form the possessive adjectives and reflexive pronouns. If you take a look at the first column in this particular table, children, you know that the first column shows you the personal pronouns. You can see all 8 pronouns here: I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. And the middle column, possessive adjectives, you see how these possessive adjectives are formed based on the personal pronouns. When you talk about yourself, when you say I am a girl, I am a boy, I am a student, or whatever, when you want to tell someone what you own, what belongs to you, you obviously use the word my. I and my, right? And when you talk about the same thing in the plural form, when you say we are students of this particular school, and you just show the school and say this is our school. Likewise, you have the possessive adjectives. Just go through that one, these words one by one. My, our, your, his, her, and its. I would like to take a few minutes here, children, because this is one word we usually get confused with. Am I right? Yes, because you have this confusion whether to write this with the apostrophe or without the apostrophe. You write it with the apostrophe when you use the contracted form or the short form of it is, whereas this particular word here is the possessive adjective. Remember, if you are talking about ownership or if you're using this as a possessive adjective, you are not using the apostrophe. Clear? And the last one is there, and here also I want you to remember the spelling, because you know there's another word which goes as T-H-E-R-E, and the spelling here is T-H-E-I-R. Right. Let's move on to the next column here, that is reflexive pronouns. I'm coming to that, madam. Okay. Reflexive pronouns. Now, if you observe this particular column, you can understand how these words are formed. With the possessive adjectives, we have added the word self and selves. Self is the singular form and selves is the plural form. Even in that, there are slight differences which I want you to observe. The first one, simply myself, myself. Second one, you know it's plural form, so ourselves, ourselves. Third one and the fourth one is also quite similar. You, your, yourself, and the plural form goes as you, your, yourselves. But look at this word. The possessive adjective of this word, he, is his. but we don't say hisself, but we say himself, right? Herself, no issues there. Once again, we have the other word it, its and itself, and here also please observe the spelling. We are not saying its self but itself. The letter S there has been dropped. And the last one, just like the word he, here we have the word there as the possessive adjective, and we are not going to say their selves but themselves. Here are some examples of possessive adjectives, and see, when you go through these 4 sentences, you can clearly understand how these possessive adjectives change the meaning of the sentence. It changes just like that. And let's take a look at a few examples of reflexive pronouns as well. I told you that reflexive pronouns refer back to the subject, and also they tell us that the action is done by the subject himself or herself. Sahan made vegetable bed himself this morning. Sahan made a vegetable bed himself this morning. So the action has been done by Sahan himself. Sahan did not get help from anyone. He did it on his own, right? And the second one, we made a vegetable bed ourselves this morning. We got together and did it on our own. We didn't want anyone else to help us, right? And the last one, they made a vegetable bed themselves this morning. The same thing there. What happened? They did it on their own. They did not need anyone's help. Is that clear? So this is how the reflexive pronoun works. I hope this is clear, and I think it's time now for us to do activities. Right. You see a dialogue here, a dialogue between Nuan and Peter. What you're going to do is, children, I'll let you read this, but before that, please copy this down onto your notebook. A table with 3 columns. The first one, personal pronouns. Second one, possessive adjectives. And the third one, reflexive pronoun. Remember, you definitely have 4 personal pronouns, 4 possessive adjectives, and 4 reflexive pronouns hidden in the dialogue, which I'm going to show you. Yes, read it carefully and see whether you can find all these words. Altogether, you're going to find 12 words. I can help you with this. Let's read it together. You can listen to me or you can read it with me as you wish. Okay, Nuan starts it. Good afternoon, Peter says. Good afternoon. May I introduce myself? My name is Peter Smith. I'm Nuan. I'm glad to meet you. Glad to meet you too. Where are you from? I come from England and I'll be staying in Sri Lanka for 5 days. Tell me about yourself. I live in Kandy. Our town is a famous one. My parents themselves run a company. My father once told me about your town. He couldn't come with me. His flight got delayed. Oh, I see. Shall we go and have some tea? Yes, that's a good idea. Let's relax ourselves a bit. So this is how the dialogue goes. Look at it one more time, observe carefully and see whether you can find how many pronouns? 4 reflexive pronouns and 4 possessive adjectives. Right? Okay. As always, today also I'm here to help you. So I would like to show this to you. I have underlined and highlighted the answers, but you should be clever enough to sort them out. Which of these words should come under the first column, what should go to the second column, what should go to the third column, right? I think the color clues would help you, but still you should know what is what, right? Look at this one more time, observe very carefully and see whether you can find some sort of a connection with these words. Okay, there are so many clues when you observe these words, and if you have found the answers, your grid would look something like this. The 4 personal pronouns we find in this particular dialogue are I, you, he and we. And the 4 possessive adjectives we find here are our, my, your and his. And the reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, themselves and ourselves. Quite an easy task, isn't it? Right. Let's try another one. Okay. Take some time and read this quietly. Observe it very carefully. This is about 2 people, 2 friends, Ravin and Chamindu. I'll read it for you, listen to it and see how it sounds. Ravin went for a walk. Ravin stopped when Ravin arrived at the cafe and Ravin looked inside. Ravin took off Ravin's coat, then Ravin sat down on Ravin's favorite chair. Ravin's friend Chamindu came in. Chamindu sat down on Chamindu's favorite chair. Then Chamindu put Chamindu's bag on the floor. Chamindu's bag was a leather bag. Ravin and Chamindu had coffee together. It sounds like a tongue twister, isn't it? Right. So once again, you remember, why do we use pronouns? Okay. So what you're going to do now is to rewrite the same paragraph using pronouns. You know where to use what. The 2 characters here are Ravin and Chamindu, and we are also talking about a bag, and finally we are talking about an action done by these 2 friends. They have done it together, so you know what should come there as well. For this activity also, I am going to help you a little bit. Right, I have written it again for you with a few blanks. Now you know where to fit in those pronouns. Ravin went for a walk, stopped when blank, arrived at the cafe. You read it slowly. It goes on like that. Take your time. Pronouns are easy to write. Okay. I think that is enough time for you. Let's check the answers now. Here we go. Ravin went for a walk. He stopped when he arrived at the cafe. And he looked inside. Ravindu took off his coat. Then he sat down on his favorite chair. Ravin's friend Chamindu came in. He sat down on his favorite chair. Then he put his bag on the floor. It was a leather bag. They had coffee together. Now look at that one more time and see whether you can identify the personal pronouns as well as the possessive adjectives. We don't find any reflexive pronouns here, do we? No, right? Okay. He, his, they, it. Right? I think this is one of the easiest activities I have done with you. Right? I know you are enjoying these kind of simple activities. Right. Shall we go for another activity, children? Because as I always tell you, the more you practice, the more you become familiar with these kind of tasks. All right. This time I'm not going to help you. I'm just going to leave it here on the screen. Read it carefully. You are going to fill the blanks. I'll definitely explain this to you when the task is done, don't worry. But while you are doing the task, I'm not going to help you. It is a dialogue between a shopkeeper and a customer. Read it carefully and see whether you can find the correct pronouns. You may have to use personal pronouns, possessive adjectives, even reflexive pronouns. Take your time. It's a simple dialogue. You can copy that down easily. Understand the situation here. Who is asking what? Who are the characters? What are they talking about? Okay, right. So let me help you out with the answers now. Let's check the answers and then I shall definitely explain the answers for you. Okay, right. Right, here we go. The shopkeeper and a customer. The shopkeeper starts the dialogue saying, "Good morning, madam. How may I help you? May I help you?" Right? And the customer says, "I need some soft toys for my little daughter." Whose daughter? My daughter's. And then she's talking about soft toys, which is a plural noun. Keep that in mind. And the shopkeeper says, "Sure, madam. Look at those toys on the top shelf. They are made by," the word "they" refer to the soft toys, right? Made by our staff themselves. So this is an interesting part here. You don't say our staff ourselves. No, you say our staff themselves. Why? Because the shopkeeper here, when he says our staff, includes himself there. Right? But when he says themselves, he's referring to these people who engaged in the task of making these soft toys. So the shopkeeper here was not a part of them. That's why he says they are made by our staff themselves. Clear? Right. And the customer was so impressed by this and says, "Wow, they look lovely." If you have written it there, your answer is wrong. Right? So they look lovely. She would love them. And here the customer is referring to the daughter. That is why she says she would love them. Have you written I there? If you have written I there, your answer is wrong one more time, because the customer is in the shop. She's looking at the soft toys and she would definitely say, "I love them." She can't say, "I would love them," because when she says she would love them, she's kind of imagining and just saying, "Okay, my daughter would love them." But if it is in her case, she can't say that because she obviously sees the soft toys in front of her very eyes. So if you have written I instead of she, your answer is wrong. Okay. And then again the dialogue continues. "By the way, how old is your daughter, madam?" Because the shopkeeper knows the customer has come to buy a gift for her daughter. So he's asking, "How old is your daughter?" The customer says, "She is 8 years now. It is her birthday tomorrow, and that is why the lady has come to buy a gift." And look at the last one. The shopkeeper says, "Wonderful. Convey our wishes to her, madam." And in this case, in this last sentence, children, instead of "our," if you have written "my wishes," your answer is correct. Okay, because the customer can mean himself alone and say, "Convey my wishes to her, madam," or he can refer to the entire staff of that particular shop or company and say, "Convey our wishes to her, madam." Either answer is correct. Okay, children, so we have come to the end of another simple and an interesting lesson in grammar. And today what we discussed was the pronouns, the different types of pronouns. I explained the personal pronouns to you. I hope you remember the 8 different personal pronouns. And then we discussed the possessive adjectives. Remember the 2 terms, possessive adjectives, where to use, when to use, and why you use those possessive adjectives. Right? And finally, reflexive pronouns. I told you how these reflexive pronouns are formed. Hope this lesson is clear, and I know you are eagerly waiting for your O-level examination paper. All right, children, I really enjoyed this session as well. I hope you did so too. And until I see you with another interesting lesson based on grammar, I shall say goodbye now. Be good, stay safe. Thank you very much.